Okay, so usually on Survivor, things start to get a little bit more clear as we approach the finale. It becomes a little bit easier to predict who's the next target and who's rising above the rest. But not this season. Nope. This season seems to be full of WTF moments from the top to the bottom, but hey, that's what we fans love to see, right? I am super excited to break down this crazy episode with you all, including Andy's wild Operation Italy plan. But before we get started with all that, please make sure you hit the subscribe button below if you have not already. I talk about Survivor and other competition shows here on my channel, and I try to get into the nitty-gritty of the strategy, especially when it comes into more complicated episodes like this. So if a deeper dive is something you're into, this may be the channel for you. Now, let's get started. Kicking off this episode, it looks like this tribe is still very much split, where we have Sam and Genevieve on one side and literally everybody else, aka the underdogs, on the other. So needless to say, things are looking pretty grim for Sam and Genevieve heading into this episode, but Genevieve does have a few tricks up her sleeve that may just help them out. We see Genevieve out here trying her best to repair her game in any way she can, and she's actually saying some pretty impressive stuff. She's talking a lot about how she needs to be adaptable in the game and how she wants to put her claws away and start playing a little bit more low-key. I think adaptability is one of the most important traits that anybody going into any one of these shows could have, so good for Genevieve on that. But at this point in the game, she is already such a huge threat with not too many real true allies, so the only thing I'm left wondering is it too late? Now, it looks like part of her whole adaptability plan is to try to repair things and apologize to Andy. Now, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this would just be a huge waste of time, but as we find out later, Andy may just be this girl's saving grace. The next reward challenge ends up getting won by Sam, and he decides to bring none other than Andy and Genevieve up with him to this reward. Now, it looked like this was mainly done for personal reasons. It didn't seem like Sam had this big strategic plan for who he chose to bring on the reward, which this is a notion that is really gonna piss off Teeny. To Teeny, this was a game-losing move for Sam, and they are gonna let everybody know it. Now we have Teeny out there ranting and raving and making fun of Sam and all this stuff, and most importantly, she's out there talking about how he needs to go next. Now, on one hand, I understand it, right? Because Sam is this charismatic, physical threat type of guy. I totally get wanting to target him in general, right? But come on now, this whole tirade is giving a little bit of jealousy, which is also understandable, especially since there's letters from home involved. But even Teeny seems to understand that she's jealous. We get a confessional of her talking about it in the DR, so hey, love her down for that. We stand a self-aware queen. So back at the losers camp, we have the girlies of the Underdog Alliance vowing to work together to take out Sam next. Which again does make sense because he is this charismatic dude who is sort of a threat to win the game, but in reality, they really should be setting their sights on Andy more. See, over there at that reward camp, Andy is out there living it up, okay? He is out there eating good and talking all that good shit too. Andy has had somewhat of a rebirth out there on the island, sure. But even with all of his character development, deep down inside, he is still that same unloyal ass player that he was on day one with John. And I say that with love, I really do, but you can't deny Andy has turned on every single person he's gotten close to in this game. First it was John, then it was Sam/Sierra, then it was Kyle, and now it's Rachel. Don't get me wrong, Andy is a joy to watch from an entertainment perspective, but he's also one of the most unloyal players I've seen play this game in a while. If you are ever playing any type of game with Andy, I don't care if it's Go Fish, do not trust that man, okay? So now Andy has completely snitched on and turned on his old Underdog Alliance, and now he is setting the plan to target Rachel next. He's pitching this complicated ass plan to get everyone on the losing camp to split their votes and render them useless so that Andy's, Sam, and Genevieve's 3 votes are the only ones that count. This is very, very risky, and honestly, it seems like a totally unnecessary play from Andy. Like, I get needing big resume moves, but all this unloyal stuff just cannot be good for your jury votes, right? It's like he's just hopping over from being at the bottom of one group to the other, but hey, that's Andy, I guess? So, needless to say, things are a hot-ass mess as we head to this next immunity challenge. The challenge itself is pretty classic, nothing too crazy to note here. And in the end, Rachel is able to pull out the win at a time where her name was floating around out there too, so very good luck to her. Honestly, I was starting to get a little bit nervous for Rachel for a second because this is the first time we're really hearing people call her out for being a threat. But now with this immunity, a block of vote, and an extra idol on her, I'm feeling very, very good about her winner chances. She should be a shoo-in for the finale if she's able to use all of her advantages at the right time. Now that Rachel's safe, Andy's plan, aka Operation Italy, must now set their sights on a new target, and for now, they've chosen Caroline. What comes next is this convoluted series of antics where first we see Genevieve craft a pretty impressive looking fake idol, and then that's followed up with Andy convincing people to put some votes on Genevieve because of said idol, at which point I'm telling myself that this will never work, right? Like, it makes no sense. That the underdogs should really just put all their votes on Sam if that's the case, right? Like, I am really skeptical about this plan, and I don't want to understate that. And it looks like Genevieve is just as skeptical as I am because she knows that there are just so many things that could possibly go wrong here.
Let's run through all the ways Operation Italy is a bust. 1, the split vote doesn't actually fall the way that we think it's gonna fall. 2, we need the stars to align and Rachel not to play her block of vote. 3, what if Andy gets cold feet? Beyond that, we need Caroline, who knows her name is out there, to not have anything as well, because if she's nervous, maybe she'll protect herself.
But paranoia can be a really good weapon when used offensively. So heading into Tribal Council, it looked like really anything was possible. The Tribal Council itself is pretty standard, really, with just a bunch of talk about the reward and letters from home and all that stuff. And when we finally do get to the votes, we see that they are all over the place. But once I saw Sam, Genevieve, and Caroline all get votes, I'm thinking, oh shit, is this actually working? But to my surprise, and probably to a lot of your surprises too, Operation Italy ends up working like a charm and Caroline is ultimately voted out. What? I mean, what a thrill, right? Like, I was not expecting this episode to go down the way it went at all. This was a total shock to me. The Survivor editors are still finding different ways to surprise us, and I love that for us, okay? So with a fake idol, a secret idol, a blocked vote, and a busted open alliance, honestly, I couldn't tell you what's about to happen next. Who knows whose advantages will be used? Who knows whose side Andy is really on? Everything just feels like kind of impossible to predict now, but this late in the game, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a blessing to us fans, because it's not usually like that. When it's all said and done, I still have Rachel in my top spot as my winner pick right now. Even though her name was kind of floating out there this episode, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, because that shows that the other people in the game are seeing her as a threat and a power player. You can tell that they respect her game enough to be threatened by it, and although that's kind of scary in the short term, I think that's actually a good thing in the long run. So if she is able to work her last 2 advantages correctly, I really do think she's got it, y'all. I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to Genevieve here too, though, because she was ignored in the edit for so long, especially during the first few episodes of the game. So that's really been the main thing that was holding me back from calling her a winner. But she's also made so many glorious power plays this season, and you cannot deny the influence that she's had over this game. She also had a really good episode here today, and we got a lot of good personal content from her. Like, this was the first time we really got to know who Genevieve is as a person, which is always good from an editing standpoint. So even though her game is looking kind of bleak right now, I'm still just going to be keeping my eyes on her. And if I had to make another guess, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Sam again. During the very, very start of the season, he was one of my early favorites to win. We've just gotten so much personal content from him over and over again throughout the whole season too. But he did kind of get lost in the middle a little bit, and getting outplayed by Andy and outcasted by everybody else definitely isn't a good look for him. So right now he is still on the outs of the game, but with a little bit more promise than he had before. And then there is Andy. Andy. Now first, I'll go ahead and give him his flowers because he showed some really impressive gameplay in this episode. In my opinion, he definitely pulled off a win-worthy move, but I still don't know if that's going to translate to respect from his fellow players. I just still don't know if the jury is going to be able to respect all the flip-flopping and the lack of loyalty that he's been showing, but still, it is such a thrill watching him play. So of course, I want to know, now that we're getting down to the wire, who do you think is going to win this season? Do you think it's going to be Rachel or Andy, or will it be someone else instead? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I'm still going to go ahead and go with Rachel. Even though she is starting to get a little bit of heat now, it looks like she also has all the ammo she needs to fight it off. Of course, I'll be back here next week to recap the next episode with you all. But until then, bye.